We have Dustin and Davis here with the Wallington twins. We are here with episode 2 of Get to Know Your City. Now, before we get into where we are, we want to quickly mention that we're still all over the COVID-19 protocols. Super important that we're not spreading germs, and we're all wearing masks, sanitized previous to going inside. And we also want to say thank you to everyone. We've had amazing communication from the public in regards to real estate inquiries, and super thankful for that.
So keep touching base with us if there's any other questions that you guys have. But now to the matter at hand. So today we are at the beautiful Orange Kitchen and Bar. So when we go inside, we're gonna meet with the owner, sort of ask him some questions, learn about their history, and then we will go from there.
All right, let's go.
Thank you. All right. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna sit down with the owner himself, Brian Orange, and learn a little bit more about their history and his history.
Finally, meeting the owner of Orange Kitchen and Bar after kind of months and weeks of trying to communicate.
Absolutely.
So, super excited to sit down and chat with you.
Me too. Yeah, me too. All right, let's do it. Finally sit down and speak with you here. And before we get into it, I'll let you just sort of have an opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself for people that are watching right now.
Well, you know, Brian Orange. So I started Orange here in 2013.
Right.
And you know, my background's varied. I've cooked for a long time. Chef by trade.
A skill that I would love to have, if I might add, by the way.
Our girlfriends would want So even back to, I know that some of your history in 1994 when you moved here from Toronto, right? Like, when you did move here, was there a reason, like, is cooking specifically bigger here? Or what made you move here?
I'm from a small town called Sarnia. And there's not much there. Chemical Valley is what it was known for, right?
So not at all with cooking, really, like.
And I knew I wanted to cook. I wanted to get into it, and when I started researching this is in the early 90s, where to go to learn how to cook. You know, Toronto, Prince Edward Island, and Vancouver.
So PEI was
Prince Edward Island was like.
And Vancouver was the farthest place away from Sarnia.
You wanted a reason to get out. You're like, okay, so
that's where I'm going.
I
got lucky. I had my sister's ex-boyfriend had been out here for a couple months. And he's like, you can come and stay with me. Try it out. And so I came out here with a backpack.
Really? Just
planning on being here for 2 weeks. And I never left.
Whoa.
Wow, okay. That's awesome.
So I just had my parents ship all my stuff out to me.
Right.
That's awesome. And then so at that time as well, you started working at Earl's sort of / Joey's, right? In that eight-year period that you were here, as well as the culinary education you were getting, right? So how did that relationship, is that part of the education to work at Earl's?
Well, so I didn't start school right away. You know, I had some odd jobs prior to getting into it. But then ended up at Earl's one day. And you know, small town Ontario, I never saw anything like that. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And by the end of that night, I had sat down, had an interview, and started as a dishwasher the next day.
Naturally, that's where everyone starts, right?
So I worked my way through the kitchen there at Earl's and to become a chef for them. And during that time, they apprenticed me, and I went to school and started taking my apprenticeship and just became a certified chef. Kind of made my way up through Earl's, where I was now opening all the new restaurants. As a corporate trainer.
Was that your plan always, to kind of get into cooking and being a chef, and then branching more into kind of the development side of a business, or?
You know, it kind of flowed. I knew I wanted to be in the business. I got hooked real early. And so I think I just kept progressing up the ladder with Earl's, and that was and I just followed that
for natural progression.
And you know, I got to that point where I'm traveling with them, opening up restaurants, training new chefs, and then came time where Joey's at the time was Joey's Italian Kitchen.
They
had, you know, the crazy tomatoes and the chairs on the ceiling. And they were changing to this new Joey.
Yeah, okay.
And they had hired this amazing chef, Chris Mills, to help them with that transition. And I got the opportunity to go and work with him and help them with that transition. And that was life-changing.
Right.
That was, you know, where I really, Earls taught me how to manage really well.
Yeah.
They put me through school. They taught me how the restaurant business operates.
Okay.
I went to Joey's and they taught me about food. They taught me how to develop menus, create things, and, you know, put your ideas on.
Wow. Interesting.
So that was a pretty amazing time.
Well, that must have been pretty difficult for you to leave then in 2002 when you went back to Toronto with your now wife, right? She went to school there. So I mean, like that must have been.
How do you know all this about?
Well, that must have been that must have been tough for you to leave.
Google something else. But yeah, you know, it was one of those kind of Oprah Winfrey aha kind of moments. I had a bunch of those. But that was one where it's like, my then girlfriend, now wife, was going to Ryerson, moving to Toronto to go to Ryerson. So she did that. And after a few weeks, I realized that if this is gonna, I had a decision to make.
Right.
I go to Toronto and try to make this relationship work and pursue that, or I stay where I am and just continue pursuing myself and my culinary career. I made the decision to go follow her.
Which seems like
I think it was probably the best decision I ever made. Right?
Well, I mean, as we were speaking about earlier, you were talking about some of the stories, right? So when you were working at that higher end restaurant, what was sort of happening at that time?
So that was it was called Farniente, and it was right in the heart of Toronto, the financial district, and the fanciest place I ever worked.
Okay.
Somehow I got the job as executive chef.
It's like
you know, I must have stretched some stories to get that job. But it was great. I was a foodie. I created new menus every day. And I became a food snob, really. A
food snob,
Right.
And what's for the people? What would be considered a food snob?
Well, I think what it was I thought people were coming because of my food.
Right.
They were there. You know, you came in and you're eating what I tell you to eat today.
Right.
This is great because I say it's
right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
You should love this because I love it.
Gotcha. Okay. You know better, kind of.
Yeah. I know better than you.
Right.
I know what you know. And I did that for a couple of years, but I had a customer just tear into me one day, because he wanted ketchup with the steak.
Do so much. I was like, ketchup over here?
I don't have ketchup. I can make you a tomato compote. I can do something, but I don't have.
It was like
ketchup.
insulting. You felt it.
Who's this guy telling me he wants ketchup? And he went off on me and telling me that he was the paying customer. If he wants ketchup, he gets ketchup. And it's kind of an aha moment for me where I was like, what happened here? Why? I got into this industry because I loved entertaining people and making people happy, and all of a sudden it became about me, not about you. And I had to get back to that. So I left that job, and my last year in Toronto was really exciting because I ended up working for Much Music.
Whoa, that's crazy.
I'm not around anymore, really, right?
But,
you know,
basically a celebrity.
He was just doing autographs before he came in.
But I got the, at that point it was. Anytime they had any guests come to the show for a program doing their award ceremonies, and I cooked for them, and I had to cook them whatever they wanted. It was, if they wanted a McChicken, I went to McDonald's and got them a McChicken. If they wanted fresh baked cookies, I made them fresh baked cookies. And so it became about them. It became about the customer again.
The reason why you fell in love with cooking.
Why I fell in love with it. I had to give them the best of what they wanted, not what I wanted them to have.
Did you have any requests for food that you were like, how in the world am I going to do this one? Anything that you could think about that was just like... I had
an interesting one with Fergie.
Okay.
The little
Black eyed peas, right?
She wanted chocolate banana crepes and fresh pressed carrot cheese. And it was just...
Oh my God.
I just had to figure out how do I make. I've never made that before. How do I make that great?
Right.
And I found my way through it. She seemed to enjoy it, so it worked out.
So that's awesome. So then, at that time it was 2006, I believe, when you moved back to Vancouver. And then you got involved with Browns when they only had 2, I guess, locations. So how did that relationship start?
I had known Scott Morrison, the founder of Browns, from my history with Earls and Jones.
Right. Okay.
And just through mutual people, we got in contact, and he said he was looking for a chef. I hear you're coming back out this way, and I was like, yeah, let's meet. And he explained to me what he was doing, what he wanted to do, and why he left and wasn't with Cactus Club anymore, and what he was trying to do with Brown's. Local, community-driven restaurant.
Where did it start then? Yeah, where did Brown start?
So it started in Lonsdale in North Van.
And with that Cactus Club and Earl's, wasn't there some form of the same owners at one point? And how did like with Joey's?
Yeah, so the Fuller family, right, is involved in all of in all of that, and they didn't own. Don't quote me on, but I don't know. They weren't. They didn't own Cactus Club, but they were initial investors.
They were the initial.
They helped support the startup of that.
Okay,
interesting.
And then so at Brown's, then I think it was you helped grow to around 20 locations.
Yeah, so they had 2 locations when I started.
Okay.
And continued to grow year on year, kept growing, and went from 2 to when I left was at 22 locations.
So what do you think? I guess you would have been the first-hand experience seeing that progression from store after store. Was there anything that you saw happening that added to that success, you think? Or what would you say was the reason for that growth?
I think just the need for community.
Okay.
Right? And I think what drove and continues to drive Brown's success is the fact that they get involved in the community. And it's not just a big chain coming in with this big box. Here we are, and this is what we're
familiar.
They really took each location and made it a part of fabric of the community. And so they're not cookie cutter spots. This is what this community needs, and this is what it should look like.
So they really tailored kind of their look and their food, and kind of just grew organically within that community.
And then all individual owners that pretty much all franchise owners that were lived in the community the restaurant was.
Well, and then that got me thinking as well, because you're so involved with helping Brown's open up their restaurants. It must have been quite challenging for you to not just franchise one on your own. Like, why not open up a Brown's instead of a?
Well, this was supposed to be a Brown's. It's supposed to be. This was originally the intent.
Wow.
I found my 2 partners, Jesse and David. We were going to do a Brown's.
Right.
This was going to be a Brown's. We were going through the whole process of everything. Right. All the formalities of it.
Sure.
And one day after a meeting, my partner David said, "All this stuff that we're talking about, you did."
Yeah, good
point. Why don't we do our own thing?
The value you bring yourself.
Yeah, I was like, I never really thought of that. I didn't really. That was never really in my mind.
Yeah.
He's like, could we do it? I said, yeah, I think we could do it.
Wow.
And we just, from that point, okay, what are we going to do? What's it going to be?
And you just kind of treated it like you normally would with developing a new spot.
Yeah. And we hired some great people. To help develop the brand.
Right?
Well, the name itself is so catchy. So when I found your last name was Orange, I'm like,
the first thing I saw, I'm like, that is awesome. You came up with that.
Well, my earlier story about being a pompous chef name might be contradicting right now, but it wasn't. Orange isn't about me. This is about my dad. The name came to honor him. To keep his legacy going.
Wow.
So I never wanted to name a place after myself.
I
don't want that. Too much pressure.
Right. Was he also in the industry?
No, but he was. I lost him in 2010.
Sorry to hear that.
But he was kind of the driving force behind everything in my life.
Wow.
And if you see our tagline is nothing but love, and that comes from him.
That's awesome.
When we were doing the branding exercises and talking about what it should be, I said that a lot. I guess I said nothing but love. My dad said that to me all the time. It was always good or bad, right? If I came home with a great report card, I got nothing but love for you, son. What a great job.
Wow.
And if I was being, the same thing, acting up. You do that again, son. You're gonna pay the price. I got nothing but love for you, but don't ever do that again. So that nothing but love tagline came from him, and the name Orange came as part of just
wow.
we try to do what he did best, right? Which was he was just a great entertainer.
Right.
People loved him.
Did your father actually live here then, or was he back in?
He was back in Sarnia.
Or on Sarnia.
Yeah. So never got to see the place, which is unfortunate.
I'm sure he's looking down.
Yeah.
But he's, you know, it's neat because he is all over.
Right. So you're always reminders.
We have Jack's happy hour. We have you know, Jack's fish burger on.
Right.
You'll see his character. Yeah, you'll see his character around here.
Right.
And that's
pretty cool.
I can show you at the entrance.
Yeah.
There's an actual picture of him with the afro and the dark hair. That's him. That's who he was.
That's
awesome.
hilarious. So you mentioned something about getting hooked kind of into the industry when you first joined in.
Yeah.
What about, I'd say, getting into this industry for you was that kind of aha, like this is what I want to do going forward with my life?
You know, it was. I think it was probably that first shift at Earl's.
Okay.
I'm washing dishes. Just washing dishes and just watching the chaos.
Right.
The controlled chaos,
Right.
that was going on to make service happen.
Yeah.
Everyone yelling and screaming at each other behind the scenes, but high-fiving and cheers and supporting one another and get through service. And when it's all done, I'm like, oh, great job. And that camaraderie of that, I was hooked after watching that.
Right.
And part of that.
Yeah.
We just did that.
Yeah.
And it hooked me. I got to do this.
I completely get where you're coming from because even after my brother and I stopped playing sports, soccer, you know, that was the first thing I missed. Just the camaraderie with the team and just saying like we went to battle together, right? And congrats, guys. Now,
I think that was I played sports in high school, university, same thing, and I think that was it. I was missing that. And it felt the same.
Right.
That team aspect. You know, you don't really have an office job where you're sitting there and you slap each other on the butt, right? Awesome work, great job, Dave, we did it. Like having that, wow, we made it through that. You don't usually get that in most 9 to 5s. I was getting that every night washing dishes.
You're jacked up.
Yeah.
That's unreal. I just picture you like a younger guy, like in the things, looking jacked up, like it sounds.
Yeah. Well, it was funny in the Coquitlam community group. We actually asked for anybody that had any specific questions to ask you. So we did get a few here. So
you're like, all right. Let's see.
So for the first thing here, so what's the one thing you wish you had known when you began your career in being a chef and then also running a business? So is there anything that you kind of wish you knew beforehand?
Yeah, I think that you can't do it yourself.
Oh, that's good.
You know, I think when we started this, I just took on everything. It was on me.
I often hear that with kind of
and you know, spent hours and hours and hours here. You know, and kind of neglected my personal life and my family life, and realizing that there are smarter, more talented people out there that can help you. So hire them, get them on your team.
Right. So focus more on your strengths and then get others to help you in areas you're weak.
Yeah, right. Bring people in that are great at what they do, and don't try to do it all yourself.
Right.
That is, you know, I think that's where a lot of restaurants, like the failure rate in restaurants, is so
it's like the highest
big.
in
I think because everyone try to think they have to do it all themselves, and they don't. And it's okay to. It's okay to let go. It's okay not, you know. Yes, my name's on the outside of this building. But it's not about me. Letting go. People don't go, oh, you know, if they have a bad meal, that Ryan Orange is It's you know, when they don't come here having a great experience, say, oh, Ryan Orange isn't there. They say orange. It's the people that are involved in what we do. So making sure you involve the best of the best that you can.
And you probably had lots of experience seeing that, though, helping to open those restaurants, whether it was at Brown's or Earl's. Like you saw that. So I mean, you're pretty well equipped to start Orange.
I definitely had the background for it, which really helped out. That training and education I got from my past experience, especially with opening all those grounds, it was a huge help.
Kind of going off of that question, another question asked from a social media perspective was a lot of people were they wanted to know more information about kind of leadership, right? Because there's a lot of different styles, and I'm sure for me anyways, the best way I've learned, I'm sure you as well, is being led by poor leaders or a bad boss or shouldn't be like that. So what's your kind of philosophy in running like your team and your management, training, or like?
Yeah, well, it's changed over the years, right? I was one of those Gordon Ramsay style chefs, you know, yelling and screaming and this is how it is, and if you don't like it, there's the door. You know, but as the world changed, and you know, you've got to adapt and change. And I think, you know, I realized, you know, that everyone, you have to deal with individuals. You can't just lump everybody in.
I love that.
And I'm going to treat you the same as you, because what motivates you may not motivate you. So you got to find out what motivates people and work that way.
Where do you think beyond the people that trained you, was that something that you learned from like your father that you mentioned, to be flexible and adapt and just be almost self-aware?
Yeah, I think a lot of that did come from my dad. My mom was very, you know, my parents were opposite in that way. My dad was a hard ass. We were driven and like, what's next? What are you doing? What's your next goal? How are you going to get there? My mom was more coddling, right?
Interesting.
And oh, you're doing great, son. And oh, that nice try, right? So I learned a lot from them, but I think the you know, I learned the most probably from the Jessa brothers, Mo and Al Jessa, who run Joey's and Earl's. They to me were the best at just, again, showing you that you have as a leader, you have to adapt to the person, not the other way around.
So for everyone listening, if you're a leader, listen to that.
We look at that. We're obsessed with that stuff too, and that's what I've always said. You know, we spent some time with Team Canada, and you know, kind of all Canadians. And the one thing that I always took from that is, you know, you would have these guys who were coming from each province or city where they were the best of the best. So they weren't used to being told what to do. So you would constantly have to adapt your style, where sometimes this guy needed a kick in the ass and he'd play better, or you'd have to say, you know, give him some tough love and then they would do better. But like you said, there's not one style that fits all.
You can be very demotivating to somebody if you don't hit the right triggers. My dad did used to say, right, like a pat on the back is only a few inches away from kicking the ass. You got to decide which one you're going to use.
I like that. That's good. One of the other questions that we got, this was sort of one of the last questions here. What is one of the common myths about maybe starting your own restaurant that you had a preconceived notion about? Like, was there anything that maybe after a few years now you've been like, wow, I can't believe I thought like that beforehand, or?
I think tough one. I think probably the idea that I thought I would just open up the doors and people would show up. We've got this beautiful building, a sign out front, open the doors, people will come because they want to see what's here. You have to really work hard to get people in the doors and then keep them in the doors. Right? So I think that was, you know, again, I got lucky with my training coming up, you know, my experiences coming up towards this. I wasn't, you know, just, oh, I'm going to open up a restaurant. Let's see what that's about. I knew a lot coming into it. But really just knowing that it's not, you can't just open up.
You open up the door,
just open up the
Would
door.
you find most you know, that open up a restaurant, they do that?
Some anyways.
I think a lot do.
They do, right?
I think a lot. I think, you know, but the biggest mistake I think people make when they open up a restaurant is they spend all their money opening up the restaurant, and so they open up the restaurant and have no money and expect that
it's gonna come in.
It's just gonna
more cash will come from
I'm gonna get the cash. We're gonna come in. But you need almost as much money to build the place, just sitting there ready to operate when you first get going. And so many places I think fail because they don't do that. They start with a zero bank account and hoping that today's sales are gonna pay all the bills I need to pay now.
So essentially, they're expecting revenue from customers to keep them afloat month to month after starting.
You need a little balance to get you started because it doesn't just happen like that.
The one thing we haven't really touched upon is COVID. So, I mean, you know, how have you guys adjusted to that?
COVID hit this industry hard, especially independents like myself. You know, our capacity was cut, our hours were cut. So, you know, I spent the better part of 2020 just trying to survive. And you got to have a big shift in attitudes here. It's not about surviving this; it's about thriving during this. How do we continue to have the great Orange experience? How can our customers continue to feel safe coming in here and have a great experience under the new normal? And that's going to be the biggest challenge.
Wow.
Is how do we continue to do that? How do we, again, not just survive, but how do we thrive?
Wow, that's amazing. I haven't heard a business owner kind of come at it from that angle. That's super impressive that you said that.
Well, it took a long time to get there, right? Again, like I spent a lot of 2020 just complaining.
Right. Like who didn't, right? Like,
I can't believe they're doing this now. And this is happening. How am I supposed to do this? What can I do here? Right. This is crazy. But now it's just going to be about how do we take this new normal, because it's not going anywhere for the immediate future, and continue to thrive and grow and be what the community needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've answered and you've spoke a lot so far, and it's been awesome. We have one final question that we like to ask all of the business owners that we interview and sit down with. So the question is, so if for some unforeseen reason Orange closed and there was one thing that you wanted customers to remember Orange for, what would it be?
I think the amazing people that worked here. The amazing people that served them every day. I want them to remember that feeling they had.
Nothing but love.
That nothing but love feeling they had when they came in here. That this was a part of their community.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Brian. This was awesome. Wow, we got so much info.
I know.
This has been great.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Another great episode of the Wallington Twins, meeting Brian Orange and going over what it takes to be successful even during a crazy time like a pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic time speaking with Brian. For any entrepreneurs watching, there's tons of gems of information there to listen to. And for everybody watching again, if there's any other small businesses or large influencers that you want us to definitely interview, leave them in the comments below. And we want to say thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.